Today we're taking a look at a duo of watches. They are GMTs from a brand that I have featured many times here on my channel, Borealis. This is their newest GMT powered by the 9075 from Miyota. So essentially what we're getting here is a traveler's GMT with an independent hour hand. So that local hour hand is what skips when you are changing the GMT. Very desirable. Recently, Borealis had a little bit of a controversy. I will comment about that in this video and talk about my experience with the brand as well. So let's flip the camera and take a look at their newest GMT that's powered by the 9075 from Miyota. So here they are. These are both GMTs powered by the Miyota 9075. A very popular movement for a lot of micro brands, obviously, because you are getting a traveler GMT with this movement, and that is pretty rare for a low price point. Now, this is a pretty low price point. This is around $500, so actually a very good price for these watches. I do want to address what I mentioned in the intro. There has been some controversy around this brand, specifically Borealis. And that is because there were some contracts that were going around and people were being asked to sign them. I just want to mention here that I have never been asked to sign a contract by Borealis. I've never been asked to send them anything. They just send me watches for review. They never have any stipulations on those reviews. So what you see is what you get from me here at Watch Chris. So like I've said in the past, I don't sign contracts. If I was asked to sign a contract, I wouldn't feature the watch here on my channel. However, I think they've made amends on that and sort of moved away from that. I think they just sort of made a mistake and have moved on. The fact is that they've always made very high quality watches for a very good price. Their style is sort of an homage brand. However, they try and do something a little bit different here and there, and I think they do a really good job. Today, what I have is the Estoril. This is a 300 meter GMT, so essentially a diving GMT. However, what you're getting here is a 24-hour bezel that is bi-directional. It's bicolored and it is made out of sapphire. I believe the entire bezel is loomed. Of course, we will do a lume shot towards the end. Usually, Borealis add tons of lume to their watch, and essentially wherever they can add lume, they add lume. So you do have two slightly different dials here, both I would say inspired by Omega, obviously the vintage Omega Seamaster 300. I would say the case on this watch is also inspired by that watch. And even the hands, you have a sword hand and then a fence post hand. So the sword hand for the hour hand and then a fence post hand for the minutes hand. And then the GMT hands are arrows. So this sort of gold, yellow, black version gets a yellow accent on that GMT hand. It also says GMT in yellow as well. And then the orange and blue version here, you're getting orange accents. So orange on that GMT hand, and then it says GMT down right above the 6 o'clock position in orange. On the dial, it says Borealis, and then right again above that GMT, it says the name of the watch and 300, because this is a 300 meter diving GMT. You do get a screwed in crown, screwed in case back, and as I mentioned, it is powered by a Miyota movement. You get drilled lugs and a president style bracelet. This is something that they have been doing for a very long time. I think the first watch that I ever reviewed from Borealis here on my channel featured this bracelet. It unfortunately also featured this buckle. However, I believe they are changing the buckle on here for the production model, and I am very happy about that. The case back again has their famous, the world famous mermaid. So there's a mermaid on the case back that is etched into the case back. And again, this is a screwed in case back because you are getting 300 meters of water resistance. You have a big B on the crown for Borealis. And I have to say, I think they're good looking watches. Obviously, they are direct homages to Omega. So if you're familiar with the Omega Seamaster 300, this looks a lot like a vintage Omega Seamaster 300. You get a lot of lume on the dial as well. We'll do a lume shot. I already mentioned that the price is $250 at first, and then you have to pay $250 when it is ready. Now, I really do not like this sort of selling program that they've been doing for a very long time, but if you are familiar with Borealis, This is what they have done for a very long time. So in other words, when you order the watch, you pay $250. Then when the watch is actually ready, you pay another $250, and then you get your watch. So it is $500 over 2 payments. I think that they don't need to do that. They are basically an established micro brand. They have made dozens and dozens of watches. I think they need to stop doing that. It's just really confusing because you initially think that the price is $250 and you see there's a second payment. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I think they could definitely do away with that. There is one other issue with the watch that I have noticed. The bezel on here on the blue one is a little bit tighter. However, on the yellow and black, it is actually pretty loose. There's a lot of wiggle. Let's listen to the bezel action. It is bidirectional. So as far as I know, these are not prototypes, but you can see that they, bezel action is a little bit funky. This one's different and actually better feeling than this watch for one reason or another, but it is looser. So there is a good amount of play. It's almost one full click of play. You can see that. So I'm not sure why that happened on that one. And it is not the same on this one. They're exactly the same case, but there's a lot less play on this watch. The case itself is really nicely finished. You have a really nice line of brushing, then a line of polishing on the top, and then when you turn it over, everything else is brushed on the bottom. On the tops of the lugs, you have a little turn, just like you would get from an Omega, and then that is brushed on the inside. So really nicely done. The bezels themselves are brushed and very, very grippy. You do get sapphire crystal that is flat in the bezel, and then you have a boxed sapphire crystal for the watch itself. So really, really nice screwed-in crown. As I mentioned, 300 meters of water resistance. Today, this is a Demaro. This is a watch that was actually nominated for the GPHG Challenge Award this year. Actually, the blue dial variant of this, a really awesome hand-wound watch designed here in the United States in California. However, the watch is actually Swiss-made. Very, very cool watch. Actually, before I throw it on my wrist, I did want to do some quick measurements. This is about a 40 millimeter watch at the bezel. It's around 41 millimeters at the case. So it's 40 millimeters at that bezel. If you measure it at the case, it's around 41 millimeters. It's a little over 13 millimeters thick. You do get 300 meters of water resistance. So 13.6 millimeters. And you do get that very large sapphire crystal. Nicely sized crown on here, 6.3 millimeters. You do have female end links, drilled lugs as well. You do not get quick release, so I guess that's because they give you drilled lugs. 46.8 millimeters lug to lug, and it does wear like that lug to lug. Here is the aqua blue orange on my 7.5 inch wrist. Like I said, this is a 41 millimeter watch, 40 millimeters at that bezel. It wears like a 41 millimeter watch. And I think it looks great. It's a really great color combination too. Really great for summer. And here is the black and orange on my 7.5 inch wrist. Again, this is more of a fall color, I would say. However, I think it looks really, really good. 13.5 millimeters thick, or 13.6 millimeters thick, is on the thicker side, but you are getting a very boxed sapphire crystal and 300 meters of water resistance. You do get a screwed-in case back that is solid. So all things considered, I think 13 millimeters thick is around the right thickness for this watch. Well, there you go. Lume is excellent on these watches. The indices are very, very liberally applied with lume. Those are printed on the dial, very liberally applied. The hands are very liberally applied. You also have lume in the little arrow for the seconds hand. As you can see, the bezels are fully lumed. The only thing I would say is that the aquamarine blue version has a little bit more lume because it's the entire bezel that is lumed. That orange portion is lumed, very lightly lumed, but it is lumed. And then the blue portion is completely lumed with the white lume indices inlaid there. So it looks really, really good. The yellow portion on the black and yellow version, that is lumed, but it's very faintly lumed. I think that the lume is a little bit better on this version. Actually, it looks a little bit red on camera and sort of looks red in person as well. Really like the lume on here. Lume on them, both of them are great. However, like I said, just a little bit better on the blue and orange version. Also, that GMT hand has a little bit of lume in it, so you can basically see everything at night. Well, there you have it. I think these watches are really nice. They're obviously homages, as I mentioned, so you have to be comfortable with spending $500 on an homage watch. However, it's an homage to a watch that isn't really well known, the Omega Seamaster 300, and it's also a GMT version, so it is kind of different from that Omega. This is a 300 meter watch. It has a lot of functionality for $500, tons of lume, and lume is very expensive. It's a brand that doesn't go without controversy. However, I think some of that controversy was a little bit overblown, but in my opinion, I think this is a really solid watch for $500. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It's super helpful for the channel, and I very much appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you in the next video.